The young and the restless spoilers in the world of Genoa City, few secrets have captivated fans as relentlessly as the truth about Amy and Damian. For years, rumors had swirled around their relationship, leaving everyone to wonder if Damian was truly Nate's little brother. Now, it was clear that nothing was as it seemed. Amy had orchestrated an elaborate game, a web of deception meant to conceal the real truth. And now, she believed that the time had finally come to cast aside the lies. Amy's voice, firm and resolute, echoed with finality when she declared, "It's time to come clean. Stop hiding behind half-truths and pretend that nothing matters." With a determined glimmer in her eye, she summoned both Damian and Martin to a secret meeting, a gathering that would forever alter the course of their lives. Until that moment, Damian and Martin had never met or even suspected a connection between them. Yet now, the weight of destiny forced them to confront a truth they had never imagined. As they sat in the stark, unadorned room, the tension was palpable. Martin, with his salt and pepper hair and eyes that carried the wisdom of 1,000 secrets, clutched a folded piece of paper, the results of a DNA test that would shatter the illusions they had both lived with. Across from him, Damian's face was a mask of conflicted emotions, a blend of vulnerability and simmering anger. With trembling hands, they unfolded the paper together, revealing the final, indisputable proof. The test declared that Martin was, in fact, Damian's biological father. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Martin's eyes welled up with tears, a profound mix of relief and joy that he had finally found the son he never knew he had. In that moment, his heart overflowed with a deep, paternal happiness, as visions of future plans and shared ambitions danced in his mind. His dreams, long nurtured in secret, now had a new direction, a legacy to build with the son he had always yearned for. He imagined the grand schemes they could undertake, the power they could wield together, and the mark they would leave on Genoa City's storied history. But as the tears streamed down Martin's face, Damian's emotions took a very different form. Although tears blurred his vision, his expression was not one of joy, it was one of pure, unfiltered anger. The revelation that Martin was his father was not a cause for celebration. Instead, it was an unbearable blow to everything he had ever believed about himself. Damian had always imagined a different life for himself, a life among the elite, where he was a proud Winters, a brother to Nate, living in luxury and basking in the privileges that came with the family name. The thought of being tethered to Martin, a man whose life he now saw as a painful burden and a source of misfortune, filled him with seething resentment. For Damian, the DNA test was not just a piece of paper, it was a verdict that changed the entire narrative of his identity. In his eyes, everything he had worked toward, every ambition he had nurtured, was now upended. The promise of a glittering future as a member of the prestigious Winters clan was shattered by the harsh truth of his lineage. "I never wanted this," he thought bitterly, his mind racing with anger and betrayal. He had always aspired to a life free from the perceived weaknesses he associated with Martin, a life where he could be his own person, strong and independent, unburdened by a legacy that he felt would only hold him back. The room, filled with the sound of quiet weeping and heavy silence, became a battleground of conflicting emotions. Martin's tears spoke of a man finally reunited with the missing piece of his heart, a man eager to start anew and forge a powerful legacy with his long-lost son. He saw their reunion as the dawn of a new era, one where the past's deceptions would give way to a future built on family and shared ambitions. Every plan he had ever made, every dream of power and influence, now had a partner, someone to stand by his side and help him shape the destiny of their world. Damian, however, could not see it that way. His anger was raw, burning through him like wildfire. Instead of embracing his new identity, he felt imprisoned by it. He questioned every moment of his past, every decision that had led him to this moment of painful clarity. The revelation was not liberating, it was suffocating. He longed for the life he had imagined, the one where he was not defined by blood ties that he found confining, but rather by the legacy of the Winters, where the doors of luxury and privilege had swung wide open for him. The thought of being labeled as Martin's son was a curse, a reminder of a life that he had never desired. I don't want to be seen as his mistake, he raged silently, a deep-seated fury building with each passing second. In the days that followed the explosive meeting, the repercussions of the revelation rippled through their inner circles like an uncontrollable storm. Martin, buoyed by the elation of discovering his son, began to outline grand plans for the future. He envisioned a series of ventures and schemes that would secure their family's dominance, confident that with Damian by his side, nothing could stand in their way. His dreams were filled with images of power, influence, and a legacy that would echo for generations. Every smile he shared, every hearty laugh, was tinged with the hope that this newfound bond could heal the wounds of the past and propel them into a future of shared glory. Meanwhile, Damian's internal turmoil grew ever more intense. Friends and colleagues noted the change in him, a hardening of his demeanor, a visible reluctance to engage with the family that now claimed him. Behind closed doors, he seethed with anger, grappling with a sense of injustice that was hard to articulate. The irony of his situation was not lost on him. He had been seeking a place among the elite, a future free from the struggles of those he deemed weak, only to find himself entwined with a man he viewed as a symbol of everything he despised. His heart, already burdened with the weight of lost dreams, now carried the additional burden of unwanted identity. "I never asked for any of this," he would mutter in frustration, each word a mixture of defiance and sorrow. As the public slowly became aware of the shocking truth, thanks to Amy's unyielding determination to reveal the facts, the community's reaction was as polarized as the emotions in the meeting room. On one side were those who celebrated the miraculous reunion of a father and son, envisioning a powerful new chapter for the family. On the other, there were those who sympathized with Damian's plight, understanding his desire to carve out an identity that was truly his own. Media outlets buzzed with theories and speculations, while fans debated endlessly on social media, their discussions marked by a mix of empathy, outrage, and even admiration for the complex emotions at play. In the midst of all this, Amy watched the unfolding drama with a sense of grim satisfaction. Her plan, meticulously crafted and executed, had finally borne fruit. The truth, in all its raw and unfiltered intensity, had been laid bare for everyone to see. She had always believed that the time for half-truths and hidden secrets was over. No more lies, she had declared, and now the entire family was forced to confront the consequences. Whether it was her desire to free Damian from the shackles of deception or a calculated move to disrupt the established order, Amy's actions had irrevocably altered the course of their lives. As the days turned into weeks, the emotional scars left by that fateful meeting began to surface in unexpected ways. Martin, ever the optimist despite the turbulent circumstances, continued to plan for a future filled with ambition and triumph. He reached out to old allies, solidified partnerships, and began the groundwork for the ventures he believed would change the world. Every step he took was a testament to his unyielding belief in the power of family unity, a belief that, despite the initial shock, could eventually bring about greatness. For Damian, however, the road ahead was steeped in bitterness. The revelation that he was Martin's son, a truth he had never wished for, left him grappling with a deep-seated identity crisis. Instead of feeling the joy that Martin experienced, he was consumed by anger and regret. He questioned whether the life he had dreamed of, a life among the prestigious winters, a life defined by wealth and freedom, was truly within his reach. The prospect of embracing a legacy that he felt was tarnished by everything he had come to despise filled him with a sense of fatalistic despair. Every conversation, every encounter, was a painful reminder of the identity that had been forced upon him. The complex interplay of emotions left everyone wondering, what would become of this newly redefined relationship? Would Martin's vision of a united, powerful family prevail over the turbulent emotions and anger that Damian harbored? Or would the chasm between their desires, one filled with hope and ambition, the other with resentment and rejection, grow too vast to bridge? In the quiet moments that followed the storm of revelations, the answers remained shrouded in uncertainty. The only certainty was that both men stood at the precipice of a new chapter, a chapter defined not just by blood, but by the myriad choices they would make in the days to come. Thus, the legacy of Amy's intricate game was sealed in a bittersweet union of tears, anger, and reluctant acceptance. As the community watched and waited, the future of Martin and Damian's relationship hung in the balance, each of them forced to confront not only the truth of their connection but also the dreams, disappointments, and deeply personal ambitions that would shape their destiny. In a world where identity and legacy are inextricably intertwined, the revelation of their true bond was both an end and a beginning, a moment of reckoning that promised to redefine their lives in ways no one could have ever anticipated. And so, as the echoes of that fateful day continued to reverberate through the corridors of power in Genoa City, one thing remained clear: the truth, once unleashed, was an unstoppable force. Whether it would bring about redemption and renewal, or further entrench the divisions and resentments that had long festered beneath the surface, was a mystery that only time would reveal. For now, Martin and Damian were left to navigate the tumultuous aftermath of a revelation that had forever altered the fabric of their lives, a revelation that demanded not only acceptance of who they were, but also the courage to shape the future they both desperately, and so very differently, envisioned. In the charged atmosphere of Genoa City, where secrets and schemes twist together into a tapestry of power and betrayal, the latest revelation had set off a chain reaction that threatened to shatter fragile alliances. The DNA results were in, and with that undeniable proof of their hidden connection, Amy issued an uncompromising ultimatum. She warned both Damian and Martin they were to pretend that nothing had ever happened, to act as if they had never met, to hide the truth behind a facade of ignorance. In her stern voice, Amy declared that the secrets of their bloodline were not to be paraded for the world's benefit now, but rather to be locked away until the time was right for their grand designs. Amy's calculated plan was as daring as it was ruthless. Her intentions were clear. After Damian achieved his long-coveted goal, defeating Nate and securing a colossal inheritance, then and only then would the hidden bond be celebrated and the long-lost family reunited. For now, the charade had to continue. Martin and Damian, despite the deep emotional upheaval the revelation had wrought, were forced to maintain their distance. Every encounter was a battle of restraint, every silence a reminder of the truth that lurked beneath their carefully constructed exteriors. Yet behind this brittle alliance, a darker undercurrent began to emerge. Amy's fury had reached a fever pitch over Martin's reckless actions. In a move that shook the foundations of their intricate power play, Martin had crossed an unforgivable line. He had kidnapped both Phyllis and Sharon. This shocking abduction was more than just a miscalculation, it was an act of pure sabotage, an explosive gamble that put not only his freedom but the entire family's future at risk. Now, Amy was livid, her anger burning with the intensity of 1,000 suns. "You will face the consequences of your own actions," she warned Martin, her voice trembling with a mix of wrath and despair. "I will not allow your selfish recklessness to endanger everything we have built." The situation escalated further when Martin, always the master of manipulation, turned his threat into a sinister promise. With a cold, dangerous glint in his eyes, he declared that if he were to be incarcerated for his crimes, he would drag both Damian and Amy down with him. His words were not merely a threat, they were a declaration of war against the fragile order Amy had so meticulously constructed. For Martin, the idea of facing jail was not an end but a challenge, a chance to prove that he could bend fate to his will, even if it meant sacrificing those he was meant to lead. Caught in the middle of these swirling storms was Amy, whose once steady resolve was beginning to crack. The betrayal by Martin, combined with the unrelenting pressure of keeping the family's plans on track, had left her deeply troubled. Her mind raced with possibilities and countermeasures as she sought a way to neutralize Martin's dangerous influence. With every passing moment, the stakes grew higher. The very future of their meticulously orchestrated scheme, and indeed, their entire legacy, hung precariously in the balance. Amy's internal conflict was palpable. On one hand, she had to keep the secret of Martin and Damian's relationship under wraps, ensuring that their pretense of estrangement remained unbreakable until the opportune moment arrived. On the other, she faced the ever-present threat of Martin's sabotage. His unpredictable nature and willingness to plunge into chaos made him a liability too dangerous to ignore. As the clock ticked relentlessly toward the moment when Damian was destined to take down Nate and claim his enormous inheritance, Amy's anxiety grew. She knew that if Martin's actions continued unchecked, the carefully constructed plans that had taken years to perfect could unravel in an instant. In the shadowy corridors of power and deception that defined Genoa City, every relationship was a chess match, every decision a potential checkmate. For Amy, the current predicament was one of the most perilous challenges she had ever faced. The need to maintain the facade of ignorance between Damian and Martin was not simply a matter of public perception, it was a critical component of a larger strategy. The plan was clear: keep the truth hidden until Damian emerged victorious over Nate, secure the vast fortune that was rightfully his, and then reunite the estranged family under a banner of strength and unity. It was a vision of power and legacy that Amy had nurtured for years, but one that now teetered on the brink of collapse. Martin's audacious threat only heightened the tension. His declaration that he would drag both Damian and Amy into the abyss of incarceration was a reminder of the volatility that lay within him. Martin was a man who thrived on chaos and confrontation, whose every action was a calculated risk meant to push boundaries and shatter conventions. To him, the prospect of jail was not a deterrent but an opportunity, a chance to disrupt the established order and force a reckoning. His defiance was both a symptom of his inner turmoil and a strategic move designed to unsettle Amy and undermine her control over the situation. Meanwhile, Damian found himself caught in the eye of the storm. Torn between his personal ambitions and the weight of a secret he never wanted to bear, he struggled with an overwhelming sense of resentment and anger. The revelation of his true identity had been a bitter pill to swallow, and now the command to pretend that he did not know Martin only deepened his inner conflict. His dreams of surpassing Nate, of claiming the luxurious inheritance that he believed would elevate him to the upper echelons of society, were now overshadowed by the reality of a forced connection he despised. Every time he crossed paths with Martin, a fire of defiance and bitterness surged within him, a reminder that he was meant for greatness, not to be shackled by unwanted ties. As tensions simmered and alliances frayed, the future of Genoa City's power structure became increasingly uncertain. Amy's warning echoed like a ticking time bomb, a constant reminder that one misstep could ignite a conflagration of consequences. The dual challenge of maintaining a facade of ignorance between Martin and Damian and of reining in Martin's destructive impulses required a delicate balance that Amy was no longer sure she could achieve. In hushed tones and furtive glances, conspiracies brewed behind closed doors. Loyal confidants and wary allies whispered of contingency plans and secret strategies, aware that every decision in this intricate game could tip the scales of power. The stakes were not merely personal, they were emblematic of the broader struggle for control over Genoa City, where every secret and every betrayal had the potential to reshape destinies. The drama that unfolded in the wake of the DNA revelation was more than just a family dispute. It was a microcosm of the relentless ambition and deep-seated rivalries that defined the lives of Genoa City's elite. Amy's efforts to keep the truth hidden were as much about preserving a carefully cultivated legacy as they were about safeguarding the future of a family that was as fractured as it was powerful. Her determination to see her plans through, despite the looming threat of Martin's sabotage, spoke to the fierce will that had long defined her character. Yet, as the days grew longer and the pressure mounted, one question loomed large over the entire operation: could Amy's meticulously crafted plans survive the unpredictable forces of human ambition and rage? With Martin's threats echoing in every conversation and Damian's inner turmoil threatening to boil over, the balance of power was on a knife's edge. Every alliance was fragile, every promise precarious, and every moment laden with the potential for irreversible change. For now, the command was clear: pretend not to know each other, play your roles, and wait for the moment when victory would finally tip the scales. But beneath the surface of this calculated restraint lay a seething cauldron of emotions, betrayals, and dangerous ambitions. As the threads of fate wove together a tapestry of deception and desire, one thing was certain: the future of Genoa City's legacy would be decided not only by grand plans and strategic maneuvers but also by the raw, unbridled passions of those caught in the storm. In this perilous game of power, where every secret was a weapon and every alliance a potential liability, Amy, Damian, and Martin faced a reckoning that could either solidify their dominance or plunge them into chaos. With each passing moment, the delicate facade threatened to crumble, and the true nature of their relationships, the lies, the ambitions, the betrayals, loomed like a shadow over the promise of a new era. And as the city held its breath, the question remained, would the grand design triumph over the chaos, or would the saboteur's hand prove too powerful to defy?